Welcome, good morning. My name is Tim Pritlove, and I'm going to talk about the Matrix. And before I do that, I should probably introduce myself. I consider myself a personal media evangelist and podcaster, so that's what I do and like. And I'm also a professional amateur, which basically means I do it a lot and I love it. I'm also in conspiracy with the future, that's why I'm here. I have been sent from them to tell you about what's next. And basically I'm here to save you from the boring world we are currently facing, all these T and F buttons. So podcasts, and you might think, well, wasn't this dead years ago? Well, if you look at the typical hype curve, that's how things are on the internet. Things come up and then they die, and nobody notices, but later on it really develops because things need time and things need the time to be recognized by people. So why should you care? Why does podcasting matter? I think podcasting is one of the most undervalued media types on the internet. Everybody's talking about text, everybody's talking about video because it's visual and it's appealing and it's good. It's so viral and entertaining and whatnot. But audio has some real advantages, and especially podcasting, which is basically offline delivery of this content. Podcasting is a translation of radio to the internet. It's a new way of doing the same thing. It uses the advantages of the internet and therefore over time comes up with new precious styles. And it has also proven to be a very good tool to address niches. Niches, that means it's not really about the mainstream. Podcasting isn't for the mainstream. It is for the niches. And some people consider this to be a bad thing, which I don't think so. It's actually a good thing because you can really focus on the topics, you can really focus on the details, and you are able to address people who are into this, who like to be in the world of detail and real knowledge. And one more thing about audio. When we talk about podcasting, it could be anything. You could even podcast PDFs, although nobody is really doing this. Video podcasts had their short moment on time. Then YouTube came and everything was walking to the big platforms for many, many very good reasons. But audio is still retained in the podcasting world and is considered to be capable to be consumed offline. So now audio podcasts are a category on their own. And they're very convenient because you can consume them everywhere. You can consume them while you are on the tram, on the bus, you are in the car, or you have some profession that allows you to focus on your work without having to listen to it. So this frees you, this gives you the time to listen to audio. So it's a very good use of spare time. And recently, podcasting has been boosted simply by the fact that the technology is moving to smartphone, is moving to mobile networks. That bandwidth is no longer an issue, which was a big problem when this was all starting. And especially apps, because apps open this door to custom interfaces for very specific applications, and that's what podcasting basically is. So in the future, better software will make even this subscription progress easier, and that's also a part what we're going to talk about here. One more thing about voice. Voice, the way we speak with each other, this is a very important medium. Voice matters. Why are we gathering here? Why are we not exchanging text messages while we're standing around with a beer in our hands? Because it's our premier tool. It's how we communicate. It's how humanity has delivered information on anything from one to another for ages. And it has the advantage that there's less layer of translation. You don't have to recode your thought into text and decode it from text into the original thought. So that's why audio is very good in explaining things, very, very good in making clear what you actually mean. And it also delivers lots of context, irony, laughter. Generally speaking, there's personality attached to it. That's something that is very, very difficult to achieve in text. And even if you deliver to encode it, most people will probably not be able to decode it from the text. But this is all rather easy and very easy for many people with voice. You also don't need the visual attention. And what's also important, I think, is that once you leave out the visual part, you also cut out a lot of things that usually lead to prejudice. Because people always form an opinion once they have an image. And it's not attached to the real underlying message at all. What's also driving this movement is the community. Well, you've got consumers on every level for every media type. But my experience is that people really do care about podcasts. They have a very, very strong relationship with this medium. And you can tell because there's a lot of very constructive feedback. You usually get really detailed feedback that I haven't seen in the blogging world or in the video world. So there's a general low level of trolling. So podcasts basically reach out to people that you really want to know. It's really a medium that you choose. You can choose to address people that are very worth knowing. But this talk is more about the infrastructure. Because no medium can survive, no medium can really make a difference if the infrastructure doesn't work. And although the original idea for podcasting was a very good one and sort of worked for a while, the infrastructure didn't really improve. And chaos is good, but you need some order here. And when we all started, there were the dark ages. Podcast publishing was basically injected into the blogging world because that's where it came from, technologically wise. And what you had to use in order to record your shows was audio software that was made for musicians, which really isn't, addressing the needs of somebody who's doing a radio show. And especially audio editing and mastering, making the audio recording work and sound well, was super complicated. So only a few did actually master this topic and were able to deliver results that they were happy with. And then, of course, as you know, on the web, these formats wars, what audio is the right one? Is it MP3? Is it AAC? Is it OGG? Is it Orbis? Is it Opus? Whatever. That's bad. But this has changed, or it is changing slightly, slowly, turning into a new dawn of podcast publishing where you have new solutions that work much better, where the audio software gets more and more customized for podcast use, and especially where automatic systems are taking care of all the editing and the mastering, encoding, and all these hassles that you really don't want to deal with when you are making a show, because that's what you want to do. You want to make a show. Also on the web, HTML5 is a trend that is more or less on its way to solve the format problem. We're not quite there yet, but it's really showing that it's not going to take much longer. And, well, that's good. So, and one piece of this that has sort of also started this trend in improving the infrastructure for podcasting is a system called Auphonic. That's in heavy use by podcasters throughout the world. It's something like the silver bullet of audio mastering. You don't really have to know anything about it. It more or less does the right thing. It takes your audio, it removes the noise if there is one, it levels everything out, you know, all the speakers have the same loudness, and the total mix also has a defined loudness, so that you can ensure that people are actually able to listen to your show even in noisy environments, like you're on a train or in a bus and people are talking and the road is noisy. So you can achieve all this without being a Jedi of audio mastering. And then, of course, it does magic things. One of the new things is that it actually does multi-track. So if you record your podcast not as a single track, a single mix, but you have all those people taking part in the show recorded separately, it actually can take all those tracks separately and produce even better results, which is a new thing. Then it does all the encoding, uploads it to your servers, where there's not really much left to do. That's good. And it integrates with many backends, so you can send it to all those popular platforms, but it also allows to be integrated into other things with an API. So this is a good idea. And when this very good idea came along, we said, well, yes, let's improve this even further, because this is just one piece of the puzzle. Here's a look at what this thing does, you know. You give it the files, and then all the metadata is attached to it, descriptions are inserted, all the license information, links, text, description, titles, subtitles. You can easily create a long list of files you want to be generated out of it in all various audio formats. And probably even more important, you can also add structure, timeline information to the audio files, which is supported by more and more devices and more software out there. So this is something that really helps in the delivery of the content and improving the content beyond the mere improving of the audio itself. So when this project came along, we thought, well, yes, maybe we should do something more and extend the infrastructure even more. And that's when we founded Podlove. Podlove is a project that sort of tries to pool all the efforts that are needed to improve podcasting in general. So it's not just one thing. It's meant for the infrastructure, and it produces software, it produces services, and it produces specification. So it tries to attack the problems on all levels in order to make an offer to the web to say, well, look, here is something we could probably all agree upon, and once we integrate more of this, life will be easier and better for everybody, including the podcasters and including everybody else. And this project was really community-driven and also community-funded. So people were willing to support it also in a financial way, but also generally by simply trying it out, using it, giving lots of feedback, and improving it over time. One of the more visible parts of the project that's meant for podcasters is the Podlove Publisher, which itself is a plugin solution for WordPress and sort of tries to make a distinction between the mere blogging that you're doing in these systems and the podcasting, which was usually mixed and mingled, which is not a good idea. So we create a separate pole here that this whole system can reside on, and this is the publisher that allows rich publishing of podcast episodes. And by rich, I mean you add a lot of metadata to it. Why? Well, you could say, well, as long as there's audio and I can listen to it, it's fine. But there is more use of a podcast than just listening to it. You want to search something, or you want to just select. You want to know what's coming. You want to make a very qualified decision on what you want to turn your attention on next. So it's very important that you have a tool that makes all this metadata gathering simple, because in the old days, the dark age, that's when nobody did that. Everybody was happy with just an MP3 file lying around, and that's not really helping that much. We've also added things like contributor assignments, which is a way of adding people to the project. So when you deliver the podcast, it's a very personal medium. We're talking about personal media here. It's full of personality. I've already explained the power of voice. And people also take it very personally. And once you are capable of actually listing of who is involved and create indexes of what people have done, you are slowly creating a visible network of who is who in the scene and is doing what, and gives guidance to those who are looking for more content like this. Because usually people tend to orient themselves after people and not so much about topics or Google search keywords. And also it integrates with Auphonic. So we just took the system, more or less put it into it, so that you don't have to use the system separately. You can just use it automatically. And that's how this looks on a website. We have this bold player where many people said like, ooh, well, that's big. But every YouTube video is big too. And if you want to make clear what your primary content is, you really have to, mark it up, show it, really make a bold statement and say like, this is the premier content. It's not a blog. The blog is just around it. It's the podcast that matters. It's the radio show itself. And you see all the people associated with it linked in the web, so people know who is actually doing it and who is behind it, and so the whole show gets more personality even on the web page. Behind the scenes are many things you can control, like the interface of how you edit who is on the show or who has contributed to the show. Over there on the top you see the integration into the Auphonic system, which is basically you put there a file and you say like, create, do it, and publish. You can basically upload the file, and once you've filled out all the fields, you can just click one button and leave the room. And an hour later, it's published. So we make sure that there's consistency in the publishing process and that it all works out for you as a podcaster. That's what the publisher is about. But it's also about the player. It's also about this front end that you want to present to people who actually use the audio content and want to engage into the content. So we have, again, rich metadata here, a tool to deliver what you have entered in the back end to the front end. It's capable of doing audio and video, although it's mostly used for audio, it could also be used for video. And it's mainly made for podcast playback, but basically you can use it for any kind of audio. So also if you want to publish music or lectures, no problem, you can do that. So it's an open web player. There are many web players out there. What's the difference? On the top you see the web player in the current form. Below you see what this is evolving into. So right now we are improving it, we are rethinking the system in order to more consistently lay out the information that is behind the show for people to easier enjoy it. So this is our concept. I'm going to show you more concepts. And one of the most important concepts here is the timeline. A recording means it starts at 0 and it ends at n. And in between things happen. People talk about things and, well, you might not care because you're listening to the show. But 1 week later you start thinking, there was this interesting part. What was it about? And then you don't know how to get there. How do you find this place again? That's a classic problem of the internet. It's very easy to find something, but it's almost completely impossible to find anything again. So what we want to do with the rich metadata concept is that we extend the recordings by describing what its contents. It's timeline related, so we can actually link it to the playback as it happens. Once you scroll through or slide through your content, metadata that is attached to the timeline can react and scroll to the proper positions. Although there's also a lot of non-timeline related metadata, but the timeline itself is very important. Let me give you some ideas of what this could be about. We started this project with simple chapters, a simple chapterized structure, a linear list of things going on, and that worked out well. And it's a good start. And it's actually in good use. Today, you find lots of podcasts with chapters. 2 years ago, not so much. So a lot of things have changed here, because it's not that easy to do it, especially completely in the chain of actually defining these chapters and delivering it via the web and via the media file itself. So we're going to extend this by defining things like links and topics, so that you can actually say what it's really about you have been talking about. And in order not to reinvent the wheel, we're sort of embracing Wikipedia here, because so many people have thought about what is what already. It's already there, it's in Wikipedia, and it's growing on a daily basis. You can't really compete with it, so you better go along with it. So we'll find a way to extend this player, to integrate more information, to integrate the timeline into it. Whatever is happening, citations, comments in general, and the information of what's actually playing wants to be rolled into this system and wants to be rolled into this player, and probably other systems too. Other examples are transcripts and chats. If you transcribe your content, it also increases the accessibility of the content. More people can get to it, even if they can't listen to it, they can read it. For those who can actually listen to it, it provides still more context and insight. You immediately understand a certain 3-letter acronym that was set, because you can read it at this very moment too. So you can attach more information to it. And also enables search. It makes audio content open to search engines and other portals. And chat logs, which are more or less similar, also recreate this live experience that you have if you do a live show. So even as there are live things happening, it's all going into the timeline. That's how this could look like. So you see it scrolls along, you just click a button, and the transcript is just moving continuously like a teleprompter once you play back the system. And every now and then when you think, look, I didn't get that, you can just look at the transcript and you have it. Our system is not automatically doing the transcript. This is still work to be done, but once you have it, you know where to put it. Other things that could be integrated here are media albums, most importantly, photography. Well, you might say photography, audio, what has it to do with it? Well, you're talking about things and you want to show them, or at least you want to give the context that whoever is interested can turn to it. So if you turn to the web player, which is capable of showing photography, you can do that. But you can also convert your slides of a presentation into photography, into images, and it can be put into the timeline, making the player itself a playback machine for presentations like this as well. And we could think this further and attach audio and video to it. You know, music you talk about, you can also attach and create a graph, a more interactive version of your podcast if you like. You can attach this media to the timeline, and you can actually see when you are talking about what and provide more context. Another thing that's constantly happening in shows is that you talk about places. You talk about countries you've been to, cities you have visited, things going on borders in conflict, wars happening, history repeating. Why not putting these maps and places also into it and provide the geographical context both for what you talk about and what you usually talk about or where you are. You do a regional podcast on Berlin, well, say it, put it in. So a search engine can take it and map it. And you can then navigate even the audio through a map. You can get to the map from the audio, you can get to the audio through a map. And again, this is something that can be both integrated with any mapping solution that you like, or you can also put it into the player. And then have fun thinking about these things and following paths and recreating the experience of somebody walking around the city with a recorder in his hand, more or less in real time. Another important thing is glossaries. If you look at show notes of typical radio shows or podcasts, then a lot of things are touched, but not everything is explained. People use terminology, use certain things that they probably think everybody should know, or they don't just have the time to explain at that moment. So sometimes you really need a break and have to look up something. Oh, wouldn't it be good to have a glossary? Well, yes, you could do that. If you take these words and create more or something slightly different than just a simple link to a Wikipedia page and make it possible to not only name a certain thing, but also to put it in context, to be able to categorize it, and then to sort and retrieve it, that's really helping. I'm going to explain more about this, because now we are talking about the metrics, and you know I've chosen this title just because it's so cool. A short disclaimer. This is what you've seen until this point, more or less exists and is being worked on, and we're getting there. What I'm talking about now is more ideas in progress, things that we think where it should lead to. There's no final technology that has been decided on yet. I'm saying this because in the program we've already mentioned certain solutions that we have now chosen not to pursue the way we initially thought it were. So everything might change, just, you know, I said it. So what's the problem? If you want to have an open infrastructure, if you really want to provide a good experience for everybody, you need more than just publishing tools and playback machines and some nice formats to put your timeline on. It helps, but it's another problem. One of the biggest problems here is the big infrastructure out there, where the web world is suffering from Facebook eating up every information and more or less defining the path where communication is leading. Even the podcasting world has this problem with the iTunes directory, which is sort of, well, has been a good idea and still is, and it works and it's fine, but it doesn't evolve and it doesn't react to new developments, especially not the things that we have thought about. So we thought, well, maybe even if iTunes is going to dominate this vision of where podcasts are and where to find them, we could make an offer. There are other directories, but they're mostly targeted at single podcast clients. They're all islands in themselves, and nothing is really made to be open and useful for everybody. And especially, none of these directories actually includes the podcasting community itself. There's no way of participating into this, and we think it should, because the human factor here can really make a difference. And again, here we are in the thinking world of Wikipedia. So we're thinking of what could be a solution for this. So we think an open directory of recordings for everyone to access could be a good idea. We're not only talking about podcasts that might essentially drop out stuff and whatever is on offer changes on a daily basis. We're more talking about an eternal log of everything that has been podcasted, so that every single podcast episode more or less gets recorded and is there more or less forever. Even when the files are gone, we still know that it existed at one point in time. And again, here we need rich metadata. We want to describe what the actual content is. And we want to have something that provides an API so that there are multiple ways of accessing this information, of reading it and writing it. And we also would like to have a human editing interface. We want people to be able to augment this with new ideas of new information, or even correct errors if there are some, and there are probably going to be some. Which is also interesting because this makes the system interesting. This attracts people to participate in this. And, well, we know this story before somehow. Doesn't this exist already somehow? Well, not quite. But there's something where we can take our cues from, and that we've been thinking about heavily along this path of deciding on where to move next. And that's a project that hasn't really arrived in the mainstream yet. Everybody knows there's Wikipedia, and there are so many nice articles where people constantly fight about what's right and wrong. But there's also something underneath that's called Wikidata, and it's a new software part that extends this MediaWiki infrastructure and adds semantic data storage. Something where you can have statements about things, and where you can even stop the edit war and say like, yeah, person A says this is right, and person B says B is right, decide for yourself. So it's a system that is capable of more or less integrating all the views and is providing links to everything. And most important, Wikidata is human and machine readable and writable. Everybody can edit it like you're used to from Wikipedia, but also bots and other programs can just take the content and put it wherever they like, and they can take other content and put it in there. And I think that's a very, very good idea. So we initially considered Wikidata to be the backbone of what we think the matrix could be. But for some reason, we think this doesn't really work out. But still, the system is very interesting. So we think that it could be a very good system to provide integration, especially with these points I was talking about, topics and glossaries. When you refer to something, wouldn't it be good if something is just well-defined in a very single place that is in control of the community? That's Wikidata. So if you talk about chemistry, just look it up on Wikidata, and there it is, and you get a number that's going to be valid for, well, eternity as far as we can plan it right now. That's how it looks. Wiki-like interface, but you have the interlinking of the real Wikipedias in various languages, and you also collect all those statements, these abstracted knowledge statements on what this is. You know, here is Republika, and the headquarters are in Berlin, and it is a convention. And it even has a location. Here we're again mapping metadata. This is really important. But this is Wikidata, and we think we can use it and we want to use it, but it's not going to be the core system, I think. We'll see. So what are our primary objects? What do we want to put into the matrix? Of course, we want to put there podcasts and podcast networks, and we also want to put the people behind the mic and behind the scenes into it. So the contributors idea that you've seen already in the publisher interface should also be in the matrix, so that you know that somebody who was a guest here is also the maker of another podcast there, and that you can follow the people, because it's a personal media experience and it's really all about people. So you need to have the people in the matrix too. And of course, all the timeline information I've just presented is super cool first order information here. Because once you have all the mapping information, once you have all the Wikidata related topics and glossaries in place, you can look for it. You can really search for that strange podcast that is about chemistry and is done by this person. And then it lists all those recordings, because that's what you want to see. You want to get to the recording, you want to listen to it, you want to watch it, whatever it is. Well, so, sounds totally unheard of, Recordings, timeline information, people that produce stuff on a regular basis inside a podcast. How does this sound to you? It's all about knowledge. It's all about gaining information from people who are willing to present it to you. And that's more or less what I'm doing right now here. I wouldn't call it a podcast, but it's basically the same thing. It's somebody standing in front of you, talking to you, explaining things, naming topics that you could probably link to Wikipedia that has a map relationship and so on. And in the end, there will be a recording on the internet and will be here and there and there and there and there too. So when we thought about building a podcasting infrastructure and creating an index for it, it was more or less clear that we couldn't really limit it to podcasted as such. It could be the matrix of everything where people talk about things. Lectures at the university, on conferences, in workshops, or in private, what you would call a podcast. And what a podcast episode is basically a lecture. And a podcast itself is more or less this conference. Just think about Republica 2014 to be a podcast. And then, of course, there's a series of Republicas. So next year there will be a next one, but each lecture is just a part of one. So these are really, really interesting and more or less simple to integrate new ideas. So if you mix it all into one, you get more objects. So where we just had the podcast before, now we also have lectures or talks or panels or however you want to call it. You could classify it further, but it's probably not worth it. I don't know, we have to see. But there's another object in the matrix that you can actually look for. So the matrix becomes something where you look for stuff being said about things, and then you get the recording. That's basically the idea. And it doesn't really matter if it's in the context of some kind of event, conference, workshop, or whatnot. It's just there, and it continues to exist for a long time, until the media files are gone. We're not going to store the media. That's not what I'm talking about. Just talking about the information that it exists and the relationship it has to other things. So you can get from one TED Talk to a podcast to a lecture on Republica and probably a lecture on other events too. And of course you have the people, and then of course you also need the organizations behind it. Problem with all these systems is you need to keep them current and working, and you need to update them. So somehow you have to get to something first. So there will be an initial injection of podcast feeds and probably some conference data. So once we've set up the system, we can just take the export, for instance, the one Republica has provided this year from both this year and last year. Not sure if you know that. That's the Redata project. You can just download the list of talks and speakers in a simple, file. And anybody who is, good enough in programming can just take it and put it into there. And that's what we're going to do. We're just putting it into there. And once it's there, we're going to work out this general structure of objects where podcasts and lectures are more or less the same, although you can still say which is which. As I said before, the human interface will be very interesting. Also, not only to correct errors, but also to add semantics. Of course, you can say like, yeah, here is a lecture and there was somebody somehow active in that event, but you probably want to qualify. Was it a moderator? Was it a guest? Was it an expert? Or was it somebody who was just dealing with the audio behind the scenes? All this lineup you see at the end of a movie in the theater is probably worth being integrated into this. So once this is set up and it has some kind of structure that actually works, we might get over to providing plugins and converters where systems like podcasts could automatically update the information in the matrix. So you just enable this in your podcast and nobody has to do anything, because once you publish your podcast, more or less publishes to the matrix too. And you could also install some converters for popular events, TED Talks, whatever, Republica, Chaos Communication Congress, and other conferences that actually share their information and also put it in there. And then it grows and grows and grows, and one day, who knows, it might be even useful. And then what? What could you do with it? Of course, the obvious aim is to have a simple podcast directory. That was what I was initially talking about. That's easy. It's basically saying like, yeah, give me the podcast, please. And there you have it. Podcasts, icon, title, and whatnot. But you can also make a list of conferences. You can list all those Republicas and, get to it, look into it, what's inside. And of course, there are these lectures or the episode. And then you can look for certain metadata. You can look for what is the location that was talked about, what is the location where it actually happened, what was the track about. Oh, let's look up this term in Wikidata so we really know what it is. And that's the powerful vision here, that you are capable of mapping everything where people talk about things and share their knowledge in one simple API. We can just retrieve the information that you want. And in the end, it's something like a link to a file or a link to some kind of video or audio platform where this media file should reside. If it no longer does, you can probably correct that error or add one if there's one missing. So you could also have an application that is adding metadata to existing content without actually modifying it, just enriching it. You can take a lecture that doesn't really have a list of chapters and you can just create a list of chapters and, attach it to it. So you can watch stuff that isn't published with all those timeline information, that doesn't have chapters, that doesn't say where the music plays, what's being talked about. And you can just attach to it, and a matrix-enabled player could just always look for the entry in the matrix if there is more information about it. So you look at something, and then there is community-provided extra additional information that is then useful to you. And see, now you can skip the ad, for instance. So it's whatever you can come up with, and at a certain point in time, we're really looking for ideas of what to do with it. Because the basic idea is very simple. It's just we want to have a podcast directory. No. It's all iTunes. We want to have our own. And then we just thought about a bit. And then in the end, if we do that, what we can start here is a compound directory of everything that everybody has ever said about anything, which is not that bad. Okay, now you want it, you want to download it, you want to grab under your chair and get the box. What's the roadmap? Yeah, there's none. It's ready when it's ready. That's how these things are. I'm not going to tell you when things are happening because I've done this multiple times and it's dangerous. But it's something we want to do, and we're looking for people who share the thought or have their own ideas or probably have running code or running experience in their head that is sort of helping. So, what is it what I wanted to tell you? First of all, podcasts matter. You should probably start one today, if you haven't already done so. And keep in mind, there is a media market just beyond all those crazy Facebook, blogging, video platform stuff. And I don't care about the mainstream and the million of numbers of quantity. That isn't really about quality. If you're looking for quality and you really want to get to people who care, podcasting is probably a way to go. Good news is podcasting infrastructure is getting better every day because there are more people than us who are thinking about this, and also the development of technology in general is helping it. More bandwidth, more mobile networks that actually work means getting to the data quickly whenever you need it, and that's good. And in the end, the Matrix wants to share this knowledge that is being shared by so many people, and maybe it works. So, yeah, that's it. Thanks for listening, and goodbye.
Thank you, Tim. Your applause. So we have 10 more minutes for some questions from you. So if you could just raise your hand if you want to pose a question, and I will come to you with a microphone. Anybody? If you don't have any questions now, you can find Tim at the Sendezentrum in stage T all the time of the day, but you have to be there before, I think, 2 o'clock? Because he's then podcasting all the time.
Well, yeah, there will be podcasts. I will be there today at 3.
Yeah, but now I see hands.
You can meet me outside. No questions? There are questions. Can you go to, is there a microphone somewhere?
I see hands
You've
now,
got the microphone. Okay.
So I come to you.
Hi, I wonder how to implement the Podlove matrix you presented here to the US podcast scene. Because as I see it, the Podlove project is very popular right now in Europe and especially Germany. But of course, as we all know, American podcasts are not so much community funded or supported, but more ad funded. And they even didn't embed chapter marks yet, because that would easily allow listeners to skip the ads. And so I'm wondering how to spread this idea to the US podcast scene.
Well, we don't really have to, because as long as there is subscription content out there, the Matrix could subscribe to it itself and just add all that stuff automatically. It's just not that they have so much extra value to it. Basically, all those podcast feeds you can take, and all the core information you need is already in the Matrix. And if you add it, if you add the information that shows up in the feed when a new show is published, you can just put it into the Matrix and it will be there. So usually what you can do is you can either decide to have it update automatically with the minimum of information, or you can do the updating yourself if you actively want to support the entry into that directory, and then you have more information. But you can still attach information to it, because we're just an index. It's just like, we know this show exists and that's what we know about it. And initially it's just what they have published themselves, and eventually somebody might provide extra information.
Thanks a lot. We have a second question.
Thank you. What do you intend to do against the trolls, wrong data and stuff?
Trolls?
Yes.
Yeah, we do with trolls what we usually have to do with trolls: ignore them.
Thanks a lot.
Because then they go away.
a third question, and if I don't see any other hands in the meantime.
The question you're posing is basically the same problem that systems like Wikipedia have. So you have to have some kind of community management with people who have more power than others and have this core group expand somehow. I'm not really a big fan of the current admin model of the Wikipedia per se, but I think this is something that just, happens. The good thing is, this is not so much about opinion. It's more about fact. Trolls and people, usually tend to go where debate is going on about opinion. Well, we're not collecting opinions here. We're just collecting the fact that there's a podcast, the fact that there's a new episode, and the fact that the MP3 file is on this server. And that's not so much you can do about it. There's, of course, the chance of vandalism, but, that's, we deal with it when it comes.
Thanks. Last question.
Can you elaborate on your data model for the metadata? Have you formulated an ontology or things like that?
If I can do what with it?
Elaborate on the metadata model?
No, I can't really elaborate because this is what's happening right now. We can talk about this later on what the current ideas is because I don't think it's worth sharing any temporary state here. So now we haven't really thought about this in detail, or we haven't made any final decisions, as I said in the talk.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you. So, second round of applause for you. Thank you so much that you would be here.